solving the problem. Now, you talk about, you're not a big fan of the term value proposition, in the sense you think that people often misuse the term, right? And you also go on a rant.
It's not that I'm not a fan of it. I am concerned that people misuse it.
Yeah. I should have been more clear about that. And then you go on a rant about all of this when it comes to, give us, I don't want to give away, people won't sign up for your class now, but would love to hear a little synopsis of your rant, and your thoughts on value propositions and some of the things that are, that inhibit entrepreneurship when you're trying to solve for whatever problem you identify. So give us
so let's imagine you've done the step we just described, the C step, really well. You've done some bottom-up research, you've been anthropological and empathetic, you've put yourself in someone else's shoes, you really understand the problem. That's great. And that's probably the hardest part. A really fun part, actually, is the next step that we're going to talk about, which is solve. Mm-hmm. But the key is to realize you're not going to solve it immediately the first attempt. You're going to develop a very wide range of potential solutions. In fact, I quote Linus Pauling, because I say you'll learn to diverge before you converge, in the spirit of two-time Nobel laureate Linus Pauling, who said, the best way to have a good idea is to have lots of ideas. And so the first part of the process is actually a structured, I don't like brainstorming. Brainstorming is kind of chaotic and not directed. This is structured. Mm-hmm. And you'll use a couple of techniques that I illustrate in the book. One is called nominal group technique, which is a way of engaging everybody on your team, whether they're no matter what background they come from. A big part of team formation that I talk in the book is the critical importance of diversity and inclusion, to invite everybody to participate from your diverse team in ways that might be different from others. And so nominal group technique is a way of engaging people, perhaps who are introverts, who are often ignored or not taken seriously or not allowed to participate in these because they're dominated by extroverts. So nominal group technique is a structured process I have in the book. And then there's another one called systematic inventive technique, which is a really surprising technique. And that has 5 creative templates that you would think would constrain your ability to think divergently. And actually, I quote the founder of systematic inventive technique, a colleague of mine named Amnon Levov. And in fact, in the audio version of the book, there's a bonus section at the end with an interview between the two of us. But systematic inventive technique, because we don't have time to go into it in too much detail, but it'll blow the minds of the readers and listeners, because and there's great examples of what comes out of that approach.
What do you mean when you say diverge before you converge?
Well, this is, again, one of those cognitive biases that we have as human, which is, okay, we were so excited, we figured out a problem that really needs to be solved. A human tendency is to rush to solve it with maybe one or maybe 2 kinds of approaches. And often the best approaches to solving something come after you've generated. Adam Grant, who I also, who's in your neck of the woods in Philadelphia at Penn, I also quote in the book, and he says that the best ideas come after your first 200. So diverge means to, at first, think very broadly and very expansively about lots and lots of potential solutions to the problem you've identified. Again, because usually the most creative, the most innovative, the most effective solutions aren't among your first 5 or 10 or even 50. And again, as Adam Grant would say, they come after your 200th suggestion. So divergent thinking is about thinking very broadly and expansively and engaging everybody on your team to do so. One of the things I require of all my students is, among all the solutions they have in what I call this portfolio of solutions, to include ones that I would call wildcard ideas, ones that are a little bit wacky, kind of crazy, maybe demonstrably not feasible. And those often, even themselves, might eventually be a viable option, or they might at least break some of your mental fixedness